Direct Connection is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you. Live from Maryland Public Television, this is Direct Connection with Jeff Salkin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for Direct Connection. Coming up tonight, we connect with a nutrition expert who will answer your questions about healthy eating. First tonight, another critical week in the unpredictable presidential race. Joining us for analysis tonight are John Deedy, Coordinator of Political Science at the Community Colleges of Baltimore County, and Malia Cromer, Director of the Sarah T. Hughes Field Politics Center at Goucher College. Thanks to both of you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lots to talk about. Let's get right to the meat of it, some predictions. Who's the Democratic nominee? Who's the Republican nominee this year? John, you want to start?
I think this is a Hillary Clinton for the Democrats, Donald Trump for the Republicans, barring anything odd or unforeseen. I think the biggest thing holding Hillary Clinton back could be if the FBI finds something, and if that's the case, this election year has been so crazy so far that the unexpected is the norm.
Malia, disagree, agree?
I disagree with the FBI analysis, part of that, but I will say that I certainly think that Hillary Clinton will be locking this up. I think she's going to win Michigan, she's going to win Mississippi, and then she's going to go into March 15th and put Sanders away.
Now, the intrigue is mostly on the Republican side. Similar timetable, where next week you get to some winner-take-all states. Conventional wisdom is if Donald Trump can win those, he's on a glide path to the nomination.
So, right, it's Florida and it's Ohio, right? So they're winner-take-all states. There's a ton of delegates. He has enough of a built-in lead right now that would really solidify his kind of inevitable status. And at this point, I don't think the Republicans can really afford to have a broker convention either. So that sort of backlash is not something their party needs right now. So it'll be interesting to see if he can do it, if Marco Rubio does not take that last stand in Florida and Trump becomes the presumptive nominee, not just the front runner.
So were you making a prediction?
I really, and I wouldn't have said this 6 months ago, correct? So I would say that I think that Donald Trump has a very, very good chance of wrapping up the nomination and winning Florida. The polls right now are leaning towards him, and Marco Rubio just has not been able to put up enough fight to really stop him in Florida.
What about this counter-revolution, the anti-Trump movement, keynoted last week by Mitt Romney, the nominee 4 years ago, who has been all out, interviews all over the place, and possibly coordinating this ad campaign, which here in Maryland we don't get a look at, but in the states that are about to vote, apparently a barrage of anti-Trump ads. Does it make a difference?
I don't think it really makes any difference because the Trump people, no matter all the bad things you say about Donald Trump, they're still committed. And it's a situation where, as they say, more things that are negative about Donald Trump, it only reinforces things. Plus, Mitt Romney is seen as one of those evil establishment people. What do they know? What have they done for the Republican Party lately? So I think that in many ways this is backfiring. And if I was the GOP establishment at this point, what you just got to do is suck it up and deal with the fact you're getting Donald Trump whether you like it or not. The question is, how do you plan for the fall elections? I mean, maybe there's strategy. If I was Republicans, my strategy would be is save the House and save the Senate and wish Donald Trump well on the nomination.
So how do you do that? Yes, there's a lot of concern on the Republican side that this could be 1964 all over again and you have a crushing defeat. How do you separate yourself if you're a member of Congress, you're a member of the Senate, you're running in some state and your nominee is somewhat away from the party orthodoxy?
It's a killer, right? That top ticket, it really will hurt Republicans the whole way down the ballot. It's really great to have a presidential candidate that can stump with you on the campaign trail, particularly if you're in a close race that could put you over the edge. But he will have really very limited down ballot appeal, and it could really hurt the Republican Party.
Let me remind our viewers, if you have a question or a comment about presidential politics, give us a call. We'll have the number up on the screen. You could also tweet your questions. Twitter address is @MPT News. I guess this point in a cycle always seems messy and muddy, but this year more extreme?
I don't think it's muddy at all on the Democratic side, to be honest with you. I think that Hillary Clinton has really demonstrated that she is the only candidate that can actually win the black vote and the Latino vote. So if you look at Sanders' victories thus far, they're in states that are lily white. He has not been able to capitalize or even win any votes in communities of color, and you need that as a Democrat to be able to win a general election.
So agree or disagree on the Democratic side, when we get to the Maryland primary in another month or so, it's all over?
I disagree just a little bit in this respect. Bernie Sanders raised $40 million last month.
So he has the resources to keep going.
Yeah, he's got the resources to keep going. He's still got oxygen. Now, is he going to get anywhere? As I told my students, he's got to win a big state. Is a big state out there for him to win? Probably not. But as long as his ego's being fed, as long as he's raising money and enunciating his issues, and as long as he's playing in the same sandbox, not going to extremes in some of his attacks, making fair and good comments, I think Sanders can survive for a while, just keep running and running until his money runs out, which I don't think it's going to run out, or Hillary gets the delegates.
Let's take a phone call. Fairfax, Virginia. This is Rod. Rod, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Hi there.
Hi.
If Trump wins the nomination, my view is that somebody in the Republican establishment is going to recruit someone to run a third party against him to take away his votes, kind of like what Senator Warner did to Oliver North when he ran for the Senate seat. Do you see that scenario?
Thanks very much. Why would they do that?
My answer to the question, which was a really good question, is it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen for a simple reason. First, you have the calendar, and you got to be able to get on the ballot. Second of all, it would almost put the white flag up, allowing Hillary Clinton to get elected president. It would split the Republican vote too much. It would be like 1992 all over again with Ross Perot and George Bush. Then you have Bill Clinton, and Clinton would have lost that race if it was just him and Bush.
What do you think about the idea that Trump has a ceiling, that he gets 35, maybe 40%, and he wins a state, but if it were a two-man race, he might not? Is there a cap on his support?
I don't know. Every time we think there's a cap, the cap seems to get higher, doesn't it? So it started around 35%. He's up to 40, almost 50% in some of these states. So it seems to be as people start to drop out, they're not deflecting to other candidates. They're going Trump.
And the Stop Trump movement has too many people in it. It's like a game theory problem, prisoner's dilemma, where you can't get anybody to drop out, including Romney himself, who won't do the General Sherman if nominated and so forth. Let's take another call. Alexandria, Virginia. This is Jeff. Jeff, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. My question is as follows. Considering that the bulk of the people that are right now voting for Donald Trump represent the rank and file of the Republican Party. They are not the professional Republican Party, mostly based here in Washington. These are people that have suffered tremendous losses over the last 16 years. Why would other Republicans, especially many of those who are considered rhinos by their own constituents, why would they want to run away from a Donald Trump presidency, particularly if he could bring people that could support him? Thank you.
Good. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Thoughts?
I think, listen, that's a really, really good point. But I think in a general election, I think what's really problematic is the amount of voters he's going to turn off. So, yes, I think he can rile up Republicans across the country. He's shown that he can do that. When we start to put Democrats and independents in the mix in a general election, I think that he is so unappealing to those groups that it makes it a very, very difficult general election race for those down-ballot candidates.
Well, go ahead, John.
There's one thing I want to add to this, and it's something that a lot of people have missed in the media. Voter turnout in the Republican primary has surged. He's bringing new people in there. And whereas people think this would be a cakewalk for Hillary Clinton, if you're bringing new voters in the way Obama did in 2008, everyone's underestimated Donald Trump. So when people ask today, what do you think's going to happen? I just want to hold off on what I think is going to happen until really you have to get into almost September, where I would definitely say one way or the other. When you bring a bunch of new people in, you cannot discount the fact that he's energized some people in a good, bad, or indifferent way.
You know, he's also highlighted some areas where the voters may not agree with the party platform. Trade protection, for example.
Yeah, in many ways, in many ways the best way to describe Donald Trump. I've said this before. I feel that in many ways, he has hijacked the Republican Party, and a lot of the things he says, he reminds me as best as Archie Bunker with a suit and a tie and an airplane.
Let's talk to Fran in Baltimore City. Fran, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm calling. I'm asking a question about why is there this system that is set up in the United States that the people of color is always used as tokens when it comes down to the presidential election, but then after the presidential election, they treat them like they don't even exist.
Fran, explain what you mean.
Well, what I mean by is that it's always convenient when the president's election or any election that the people of color is always the forefront. It's always important to have them for a vote, but then you don't treat them as voters after you be elected as president or any other position.
Thank you very much for the phone call. Thoughts on the grievance of minority communities?
Sure, and I think it's a fair point. I think to Clinton and to somewhat Sanders' defense, during this election cycle, they have highlighted, I think, the key issue in Flint, Michigan, that really disaffects communities of color. That is, certainly one thing. And I think when we talk about economic issues and you talk about protecting American jobs, like Clinton has in Michigan about the bailout to save auto workers' jobs, I think that affects communities of color in the same way that affects white communities. But social justice issues and racial justice issues are key to this campaign, and they're something that I think a Democratic candidate especially will have to address. And if they expect to continue to have that the black vote support, they will need to address it and then show actual policy initiatives going forward.
Let's talk to Sean in Baltimore City. Sean, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing this evening? I'd like to know if Donald Trump wins his party, Republican Party, what's the chances in contested convention?
Thanks very much. Well, it's one or the other. Either he gets to 1,200 and however many delegates, or he doesn't.
I think the concern is that thinking about the Trump campaign, if it becomes a contested convention and he does not win, he's going to get really angry, and you will see a third-party candidacy.
But it'll be too late, won't it?
Well, he'll want to cause trouble. Remember, this is someone who is like the 5-year-old temper tantrum. So he's going to, anything he could do to cause problems.
Put that in his commercial, too.
Yes. I wouldn't mind being on his enemies list.
Is there a path forward for, we've talked a little bit about Rubio and Cruz. Kasich? Is there any daylight there?
Ohio.
Absent a contested convention where maybe he's a consensus
people
pick.
do like winners, and so if he can somehow, it's a very, very small chance. I mean, the numbers are really against him, but if he can win Ohio, maybe win Ohio decisively, that's a lot of delegates, and that perhaps can give him the electability momentum moving forward. And that only works if Rubio and Cruz can split some of Trump's wins that day as well. It has to be an all-over-the-board mix, and it doesn't look like it's shaking out at that point right now.
If he wins Ohio, it doesn't make a difference, because the problem is he has no organization after Ohio. And the reason Ted Cruz has gone on so long is he has an organization. John Kasich can win Ohio and get all these delegates. The problem is, where's the path forward? Where are the boots on the ground to get delegates? And the question is, all of his boots are on the ground are in Ohio right now.
I want to take one more phone call. John, hold on a second, but let's think about a contested convention. 50% odds, less. How would it play out? Say the magic number is 1,200. Say Trump has 1,000, Cruz has 800, Rubio has 6, and Kasich has 3 or something. What happens? Romney's wishing on a star that the party turns to him, maybe to Paul Ryan.
I think what happens is it would probably take a situation where the lower tier candidates would have to strike a vice presidential deal. And that's probably the only way it happens. The problem is I don't know who Ted Cruz could make a deal with because he's so unlikable.
Maybe he makes new friends if he's going to be on the top of the ticket.
Well, I think that's a very slim possibility.
All right, let's take another call. Anne Arundel, this is John. John, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was up in Connecticut yesterday with some friends who have gone Republican over the past 10 years, and I'm a fairly independent-thinking Democrat. And it's interesting to me. I wonder why your lady panelist there, forgive me for not knowing your name, thinks that we would vote for Hillary over Trump in that situation, because, quite frankly, the way things stand right now, I would vote for almost anybody over Clinton.
John, thank you very much for the phone call. We'll give that to Malia.
Great. Oh, so, You know, as much as I do respect that position, and there's certainly a anybody but Hillary demographic out there, and no denying that. But I think that by and large, if you look at the polls and you look at the collective of the Democratic Party, she does have a strong level of base support. She's winning decisively among women. She's winning among minority voters. And the Democratic Party is no longer, it's a diverse party, and she has a diversity strength, I think, to move forward. And I think that even among independents, you're going to see some women break for her, and it might just be enough. And with Trump, he has so many negatives that if it's a Clinton-Trump, I think his negatives perhaps outweigh her negatives.
Before I run out of time, a quick comment on the Senate race for the U.S. Senate. Democratic primary is the most hotly contested at this point. Polling indicates it's really tight. What's happening there?
I think what's happening there is that voters really haven't focused as much on this one because they've been focusing on the presidential campaign, also focusing on the mayor's race. And frankly, there's no Baltimore area candidate, which has kind of decreased people's focus. I think right now, if you had to pick who it would be, it's still up in the air. I think it's going to take an ad campaign to really get one of the two over the top. And
Malia, you've been polling on this as well.
So our poll found they're basically neck and neck. So there's really no difference with its candidate. And so I think really what Baltimore, although there's not a Baltimore candidate, I think Baltimore here is key. So the PG and Montgomery are going to go to those to both Van Hollen and Edwards respectively. But whatever happens in Baltimore, so if we continue to have a high-profile contested mayoral race, if we see things tightening, if Dixon looks defeatable, I think a lot of people will flock to the polls. It's going to drive up African-American turnout, obviously, and that might break for Edwards. But then again, Van Hollen has the money in the bank to go the distance.
We'll leave it there. Professors, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
We'll do it again. Thanks for coming in. Just ahead tonight, smart food choices. We'll be right back.
Tonight on MPT.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, we're looking at some of the best presents people ever receive.
It's an expensive Valentine's Day gift to yourself.
Yeah, no, it was from my husband.
It was an expensive Valentine's Day gift from your husband.
You're a lucky guy to get a present like that. Holy smokes. I'm gonna have to give that watch back.
Join us for a generous special episode, Antiques Roadshow Greatest Gifts.
Tonight at 8 on MPT.
The last of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. His most magnificent location yet. Yanni, the Dream Concert, live from the Great Pyramids of Egypt.
Tonight at 9:30 on MPT.
The next Maryland Farm and Harvest has gone to the dogs.
It would take maybe 3 to 5 people to replace one dog's work.
Then Al visits a dairy that delivers.
First, we've got to fill some milk bottles.
Join us next time for Maryland Farm and Harvest.
Tuesday night at 7 on MPT.
In this week's Primetime Living, produced in partnership with the Maryland Department of Aging and its Maryland Access Point service, we're joined in the studio by Erin Pasak, owner of Nutrition by Erin. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me about your practice. Who do you help?
Sure. So I have a practice located out in Towson, and I see a variety of different types of clients, but primarily I work with weight management, metabolic syndrome, and gastrointestinal disorders.
One of the tips that you focus on is something I haven't heard before, the idea of a hunger scale.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I think sometimes we lose touch with why we're eating. And so often people all day long, they're craving food and they're always wanting something after they just ate, and they're not really in tune with their hunger. So there's a scale you can use on a scale of 1 to 10. And basically 1 would be rock bottom, you can't even stand up straight, you're about to pass out, you're so hungry, your stomach's grumbling. And 10 is, think of after Thanksgiving dinner, you're so full you have to unbutton your pants. Okay, so somewhere in between, we should probably be about a 3 to a 7 if we're trying to really make sure our hunger is in check throughout the day. So not overfilling, but also not letting ourselves get too hungry.
Unfortunately, very few Americans get down to a 1. So, I mean, how much are we eating just for something to do?
Yeah, so that's a common question I ask people is, what type of eating habits do you identify with? And so, there's this combination of emotional stress or even boredom eating that's occurring all the time. And we've become a society that seems to be addicted to snacking. And so it's just eating all day long and never really getting to that point of, okay, maybe I am at like a 3 and I'm ready to eat a meal and feel satisfied. Instead, it's just constant, grazing.
So you should really think about it in those terms before you eat anything. How hungry am I really?
Right, so it is tough to be mindful. We go throughout our day and we just do our daily routine. And when we eat, we're often doing 10 other things at the same time. I know I'm a victim of that too. And so it is hard to cue in with how do I feel right now? And do I feel hungry? Am I feeling stressed? Am I just feeling overtired and I'm craving, sugar to boost up my energy? So it is hard to be mindful, but it's something that you can kind of tune into if you're more aware of it.
One of your tips for making sure that people eat a balanced meal is to start with the veggies, the non-starch veggies. What's the idea?
Sure. So, there's something called the plate method. Some people may be familiar with it.
All right,
but
so
basically,
we're off the scale method, we're onto the plate method.
We're on the plate method,
right?
yeah. So if you visualize, most people are eating off of a plate, which is circular. And if you cut that plate in half, 50% of your plate should consist of non-starchy vegetables. Most people, it's an afterthought. Oh yeah, I'll have a little bit of veggies on the side. But really, half your plate should be veggies. And so the concept of that is, veggies are packed with nutrients, packed with fiber, low in calories, going to help to fill you up and also help keep your waistline down so you're not overeating some of the other more dense items.
Is your suggestion to literally eat the veggies first or just think about it first in putting together a plate?
I think the concept is more around when you're putting your plate together.
Okay.
There are some people who they opt to fill up first on their protein, which is fine as well. I don't think there has to be so much structure to it. But yeah, when you're filling up your plate, I think, that top priority in your brain should be around the vegetables.
And in terms of what you drink with a meal, you have a glass of water in front of you.
Big fan.
Water is recommended by everybody.
Yeah. It's free, it's just what our cells need. We stay hydrated. I think the one biggest thing I see people change that makes the biggest difference in how they feel and also on achieving their health goals is getting off any sugar or sweetened beverage.
In terms of older Americans, older Marylanders, if you're in a setting where it's sort of an institutional food service, you're going to see a lot of fried foods. I don't know if that's still the case, but it's easy, and that's something you like people to avoid.
Yeah, that's another great switch that people can look for is, I know they want to go and, eat chicken and maybe eat a potato and maybe, eat their veggies. But when the preparation method is, soaking that in a batter that's maybe high in sodium, high in carbohydrates, then deep frying it in a highly inflammatory type of oil, then whatever once was healthy is no longer providing you with those health benefits. So, I can't ask that it's an always situation, but for the most part, going out of their way to, go more for grilled, broiled, sautéed, baked varieties, if that's the option.
Yeah, and back to the veggies, same thing. If you coat it with a ranch dressing or whatever, there's better ways to do it.
There is, but then the other thing to think about is if that gets you to eat it, maybe that's a good place to start, right? I don't support that, but I think if you need to put some dressing, or some kind of a dip, if that gets you to consume it, then
maybe limit the portion a little bit. But
you got it, yeah.
All right. Let's take a phone call. Cecil County, this is Derek. Derek, thanks for the call. Go ahead.
What about the comparison between lima beans and asparagus as far as nutritional value and also the process of putting either margarine or real butter on each of those?
Derek, thank you. Quick answer on
Great
that.
question. So lima beans we consider in the legume family, which would be more of a starch, versus the asparagus, which would be a non-starchy vegetable. So I think that they can both be at the meal, but they're serving different purposes. And then I'm a big fan of, I'm kind of pro-fat, but the right kind of fat. So I'm really not crazy about the margarines. They often contain hydrogenated oils or highly processed oils. And I'm a bigger fan of, doing some kind of a butter, hopefully from grass-fed cow's milk.
Very good. Erin Pasak of Nutrition by Erin. Erin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for Direct Connection. We're back Thursday at this time with Your Money and Business, and join us Friday for State Circle. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.